Welcome to another installment of 5-Minute Tones. On today's video, I want to use the Axe FX3 to recreate the tone from my studio rack. I recently did a video with my big over-the-top studio rack dialing in a greasy 80s style lead tone, and all the elements that exist in that rack are modeled in the Axe FX3. So let's get started with the amp tone, and then I'll show you how I would route all of this. I'm basically going to be relying on my existing blocks library, which is shared on my Discord server, linked in the video description if you want to grab those. Otherwise, I'll put this preset up on Axchange at the end of the video so you can mine the blocks from there. But the first part of this, and I think the hardest part, was getting the amp tone. In the studio rack video, I'm running my Boogie Mark IV into a Fractal load box, and actually then into the Axe FX3 with this LT TV Mix 7 cab. So I got the cab sorted right there, but setting the tone control page on the Fractal amp to the same settings as the tone control page, not the tone control page, the real knobs on the amp, maybe we can call it the tone control page and normalize that phrase for amps, was really straightforward. That got me the texture of the distortion. The thing that was difficult was the output EQ settings, because I had a real dramatic V curve on the Boogie EQ, but anyone who's used a real Mark IV knows that a bee can come along, fart on one of those dials, and your tone sounds totally different. They are so sensitive, and they kind of do nothing for ages, then they do a lot over a very, very short sweep. The output EQ on the Axe FX3 is a whole lot more consistent. So what I did was I actually just ran some pink noise straight into the power amp section of the Boogie with the EQ settings where I had them. I did the same on the Axe and just kind of tweaked it to match it here. I could have done a tone match, but this way I can save it as a block in my blocks library. I even set the speaker impedance curve to the Fractal X load curve that I use, added a bit of speaker drive, speaker compression, and turned the fat switch on, and we get this big, thick kind of lead sound. Very, very satisfying. We need to add some grease to all of this now. So I was using a line mixer in the studio rack video with 3 different effects units, and a shout out to my buddy Nicholas for helping me dial in this Eventide style detune. Let's add a pitch block, and I'm going to bring up from my channels library this microshift number 519. I ran some test signals through my Eventide, and Nicholas sent this block back to me. What an absolute legend. Sounds bang on with the Eventide. So let's add this in parallel here. You can see I need to turn the mix up to 100%. I'm going to set the bypass mode to mute effects in. I'm actually going to add a mixer block at the end of all of this so that I can recreate that rack style experience. For delay, I use the TC2290, and the 2290 in the Axe, as you would expect, does the thing we want. I'm going to bring up these 2290 pan settings that I dialed in here. Let's crank the mix up again, bypass mode to mute effects in, and we will cable it up. And then the last part of the equation was the concert hall reverb from the Lexicon PCM81. I played around with the concert hall type in the Axe FX3, and I came up with this, and I think it kind of does the trick in here. All I need to do in the mixer is I'm just going to turn row 5. I'm going to turn the gain on that one down a little bit because that is my delay. I want slightly less delay than everything else, and this is what it all sounds like together. I should let you hear the individual elements and then everything together, but let's start with the glory stuff. Reverb, delay, and pitch detune, and then we'll hear what each one of them does one by one. With the reverb, I basically took the stock concert hall time and I just played around with the crossover frequency and the low and high frequency decay time to get something a little more akin to the PCM81. You could use any hall reverb type in the Axe at stock settings and it's going to sound great, but it sounds like this on its own. The detune on its own is what makes everything sound super wide. I'm addicted to this effect, but you can see basically plus or minus 9 cents, panned hard left and right, a little bit of delay offset there. And this is using the dual chromatic block because you get more control over the tracking parameter in here, which is cranked all the way up. There's two classic micro pitch shift effects in the old Eventide. One basically has the tracking set a lot lower if you want to match it. The other one has this very, very high tracking value. And it sounds like this. Finally, the 2290, this is using the new LFO3 in here in the delay block to target the pan parameter up here. So you got to crank echo pan to 100%, 300-ish milliseconds, a bunch of feedback, and I added a little bit of ducking in here. This sounds so nice. Finally, let's hear it all over a little synthwave backing track. This is a song called River of Darkness by The Midnight, and I start by just playing the sax line from the song. Check out The Midnight if you like this kind of stuff, and if you want to support my channel, there are a bunch of links to do that in the video description. I'll put this preset up on Exchange. Enjoy, and I'll see you all next time.